and not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org. And if you're overseas and on the US listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. If you're in the UK, 0330-332-6541. Or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM Facebook and YouTube Live. In the first watch today, dealing with hurt and the church shame, lessons from the pathway story. And in the second watch, what's up with the recent Facebook name change? Our social media question we ask, what lessons should we take away from the Pathway International Kingdom Restoration Ministries tragedy? Please share your responses on our Facebook page, Love 101 FM, and also post our voice note to WhatsApp 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your responses later on in the program, but before all of that, here's I quote.
This morning's I quote, I'd love to make up my mind, but I can't remember where I left it. Good morning, Rev. How are you?
Well, that's a serious problem right there.
Quite serious, actually.
Wouldn't you say?
Of course.
By the way, speaking about mind, Shavani, what's this I'm hearing about you choosing the right wife? What's that about?
Yeah, but no, this Phyllis pressure me from a long time.
Yeah, I heard it not too long ago. It's well one.
I have good taste, so finding one won't be much of a challenge, right? I would hope.
Please pay attention to the quote that was given this morning here.
I'd love to make my mind, but I can't remember where I can't make mine.
The first watch will be back after this break.
Ready, set, see a big on Woman Things Best Brand Sale event. Get the lowest prices on tiles, bathroom fixtures and faucets, laminate flooring, lighting, windows and doors, plus more, even on new arrivals. Shop top brands like American Standard, Moen, Corona, Hunter, and Angel Grace. Visit our showrooms at Old Road Road and Constant Spring Road. The best brand sale event now on at Woman Things. Shop now for the best brands, big value, and even bigger savings.
How have you been handling the pressure of balancing your marriage and work? And don't forget the kids too. It's National Parent Month, and we want you to impact the lives of your children that would last for generations to come. So please join us this Thursday, November 4 at 5:30 p.m. inside the Truly Marvelous program To Heaven to Hold with host Colleen Beckles and co-host Reverend Dr. Darren Toussaint as they take a look at balancing marriage and parenting. That's the Truly Marvelous program To Heaven to Hold, and it happens every Thursday at 5:30 p.m. right here on the family station Love 101.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Now, although some of us have experienced it, many perhaps have never heard the phrases church hurt and church shame until a few days ago. So, what are these phrases about? How are they associated with recent events at the Pathway Church in Albion? and how should they be dealt with? Well, to answer these and other questions, we have online Dr. Beverly Scott, family therapist, and Bishop Dr. Roy Notice, administrative bishop of the New Testament Church of God in Jamaica. Good morning to you both.
Morning, Dr.
How
Tislan.
are you?
And morning, Dr. Scott.
Good morning. Morning, Bishop Notice. Morning, Dr. Scott. Dr. Scott, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Are you hearing me?
Yes, hearing you now.
Are
Welcome
you
as
hearing
well.
me?
All right. Yes, we're hearing you. We're hearing you. We're hearing you. All right,
Okay.
let me begin by asking, lady and gentlemen, what is your understanding of church hurt and church shame, especially within the context of recent events at the Pathway Church? Beginning with you, Dr. Scott.
Thank you very much. Well, my understanding of church hurt is that this happens when you have been a victim of abuse of power
Mm,
in the church. And this abuse could be sexual assault, sexual molestation, it could be psychological manipulation, especially when you are depending on your leader to lead you and to show examples and all of that. It cuts to the core. When we look to our leaders as our shepherds and we trust them,
mm,
we get a little vulnerable. We trust them with our hearts. And when the people whom we trust manipulate us, shame us, reject us, and use others for selfish gain, then it affects us deeply. It's painful, and it's confusing. It's just where we are most tender, causing people to question. But God sometimes has their own sense of worth. And if church can hurt me so deeply, then what does that mean? If church hurts so deeply, what can I say about God? Where's God in all of this? Some people even question
Just,
God.
just for clarity, Dr. Scott, is it only from church leaders that the abuse would
No, I
come
mean,
for it to be church hurt?
not only from church leaders, it can be from members as well. Yeah, but the leaders hurt it.
Okay.
Remember, it's more devastating. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Bishop Notice.
Thank
Yes,
you,
Bishop
Dr.
Notice.
Toussaint. Thank you, Dr.
Mhm.
Toussaint. And I agree with the words expressed, Dr. Scott. And let me preface what I'm going to say by saying that the unfolding of the very bizarre events at the Pathway Church is very disturbing and painful for all of us, to say the least. And I really feel for those members and adherents and their families who were directly
Mhm.
impacted by the happenings. And it's very easy to underestimate the emotional, spiritual, and social impact of the breakup or breakdown or confusion that when it results in a particular, when it happens in a particular group. And it is this impact that we sum up as being church hurt. I want to read, Dr. Toussaint, a very short definition that's not my own, but I borrowed it by Mansfield. And it says that church hurt is a deeply traumatic spiritual pain brought on when an event or series of events take place within one's house of worship, and the effects are so dramatic that while the person may still have faith, his or her trust in church has failed. And so we speak about it as a kind of traumatic experience, a traumatic event where the place of trust, the place of spiritual and social nurturing and the connection,
Yes.
that place now becomes a place of rejection, a place of anguish, a place of disenchantment, a place where in the eyes of the public people are looking at that place with great scorn, and knowing that I was a part of that place that is no longer there. That for me is a great example of what church hurt and church pain is all about.
And the shame part of it, Dr. Notice, how would you expound on that?
Well, whenever persons are associated with groups, and they're either chased away from the group, or activities of the group carried out by leaders or members really become either illegal, or they become cultic, then
Mm,
persons in in the public's eye, you are deemed as a person who have been dragged into this. You're looked upon as being naive, gullible. In fact, people look at you as being stupid
foolish.
and fool, and say, how could
Hmm.
you get involved? You a smart, sensible person. How could you allow somebody to jinx you like that, to take your money, to get you involved in all these questionable activities? And so sometimes when a person looks back on what they were involved in, they really feel ashamed of themselves. And plus, people begin to ridicule persons who are involved or who were involved in groups like this.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm not sure if Dr. Scott is still with us.
Yes, I
Doc,
am.
are you
Yes, sir.
there?
Yes,
Dr. Scott?
I'm here.
Okay. Because I want to throw this question at you first, and then to Dr. Notice. Anecdotally, how widespread do you think instances of church hurt, church shame are in Jamaica? Anecdotally.
Yes, anecdotally, I think it's more widespread than we think and imagine.
Wow.
Quite
Wow.
widespread. Yes,
Wow.
we are people who use negative motivation, that. And so we tell the
Mm,
people what they're doing wrong and all of that. Um, People have preached from the pulpit and members, and everybody knows you. I remember a
mm,
pastor preaching
mm,
on me one day, and the topic of his sermon was, "Who called you?" I just left the university and come back to the church because I was baptized when I was very young. And it was "Who called you?" And his sermon was about Paul studying at the feet of Gamaliel, the lawyer. And then when he got converted, he had to go learn the scripture. So education no matter. And everybody looking at me, everybody knows me. Who called you? And I was
mm,
so sorry for that preacher. He
mm,
eventually was cut out of the church because that was his attitude to preach on people, you know.
mm,
So it's very, very widespread in the church. Somebody hears something about you, you come to them with a problem, and they shame you. A lady went to the minister to say, "I'm
mm,
pregnant," and she was on the choir. And he shamed her most disgracefully. She went to him in confidence, and he put it in the word church. So it's terrible, sir. It's terrible, but people really don't give it the name that you have given it. It's there, and it's in so many churches. It's so widespread. From my experience, it's terrible. Yes, it's there.
yes. Yeah, Bishop Notice. What's your take on that?
You know, I have to agree with Dr. Scott, and as a pastor, it is very painful to acknowledge that church hurt and the church shame are more widespread than we think. Because in some congregations and in some religious groups, there is the absence of genuine pastoral care and love. So the
Mm,
shepherding spirit that ought to define who a true leader and a true pastor is, sometimes that's absent. And what makes it worse is the fact that sometimes there is also coupled with that lack of doctrinal and biblical soundness. So in a setting where there is no genuine love for people and genuine regard for people, and
mhm,
there is a swerving away from biblical truth, then persons become targets and become things to be used. and so
My apologies. My apologies, Bishop. My apologies, Bishop. We're up on a break. Hold that thought. We'll be
sure,
right back.
sure.
There were 74,455 reports of child abuse in Jamaica. Report child abuse. Call 211.
The time brought to you by Child Protection Services is
7:16.
I'm the Reverend Newton Dixon. I belong to the African Methodist Episcopal Church, and I'm the president of the Jamaica Council of Churches. I am vaccinated. My fellow Jamaicans, we have this wonderful gift from God called science. Science has assisted us to address the quality of our lives and to provide wise choices as we live in the world. From telecommunications to construction to transportation, science has enriched our lives. No less has medical science. And now we hear from medical science that 90% of our people who come to hospitals inflicted with the COVID-19 virus are unvaccinated. This is not just a scientific fact for me. This is a common sense basis for a decision to get vaccinated. So please, brothers and sisters, get vaccinated.
From generation to generation, Jamaicans have depended on J&B Bank to make the pride and joy of providing a safe place for their families possible. Now, with no processing fees and no down payment mortgage options, you can open the door to your own sweet home, a legacy to hand to your next generation. Visit jnbank.com to get pre-approved today. J&B Bank will help you find a way.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint, and in this, the first watch, we are seeking to deal with the whole matter of church hurt and church shame. And we have on line Reverend Dr. Roy Notice, Bishop, and we have Dr. Beverly Scott, family therapist. Bishop Notice, before the break, you were giving us your thoughts in regards to how widespread this concept, this practice is.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Toussaint. And I was making the point that it is more widespread than we think, and you see it popping up where you have groups and congregations where pastoral care is not demonstrated in, and pastors don't have a genuine regard for people, so people become objects that are used to shore up membership lists and are used to gain kind of financial strength. So we have to be careful of that. One of the things that can make it worse is when the congregation itself is not a caring congregation, so that when pastoral care and love are absent, then what happens is that people's feelings are not duly regarded. So persons are spoken down to, and there is what I would refer to, Dr. Toussaint, as the stone them syndrome. So that when people make mistakes, when people sin, they are highlighted, and everybody wants to throw stones at them. And I want to latch on to something that Dr. Scott said, that whenever persons emerge in some groups that are critical thinkers, persons that may challenge what the leaders say, then they're targeted, isolated, and sometimes brought to shame. And it's very sad even to talk about it.
Yes, and still with you, Dr. Notice, what are the causes, consequences of such behaviors within churches?
Well, whenever people are deeply hurt by church, it affects them on several levels. It affects them obviously emotionally. People feel great pain, and the pain is deep and cannot be easily brushed aside, because when you get connected to a group that you trust and that you love, and that you look to for loving covering, and that same group pulls the cover from off you and exposes and shames you, speaks down to you, the hurt can be very deep, but it also affects person's faith and person's connection with God. That whenever persons feel that they face rejection from the religious community, and the religious community that ought to be a place of love, and they find that kind of a scorn, then they tend to feel that there is no hope. So it really leads people to a sense of hopelessness, and maybe push them to get involved in other groups and other things that are very unhealthy. So church hurt should never be treated lightly. And just to connect it, Dr. Tissant, to this recent happening in Montego Bay, that if persons are a part of say cultic groups, and they joined the group because they needed love and acceptance, and they were recruited to be a part of the group, with all kinds of promises, and now the whole thing comes crumbling down. People start turn on them. The shame and the hurt are very deep, and you can really turn them against God. People can get
Yes.
very depressed. People can lose a sense of purpose, just the impact. People can also get very angry when they have to face church hurt, and they start to distrust people.
Dr. Scott, your take on that?
Yes.
Consequences?
But that's some of the consequences of
Consequences. Yes, yes.
yes. Deep-seated emotional hurt. Some of the causes are that pastors are trying to ensure that their congregants are subdued. Many of them have mental problems. Many of the pastors have mental problems, and they use that to manipulate the people. Many of them are very charismatic, and some of them are educated, very educated. And so what they do is to try to lord themselves over the people and show how important they are, and get the people to almost worship them. You know?
Or literally.
The persons who have come to church, have come to certain congregations, have come there because they have been hurt by other churches. They feel like the God that they worship at a particular church is not the true and living God, because they might have had a situation that made them feel that God is not there for them. I remember this lady who lost her son tragically, her only child. And she was committed in the church, and she said that it couldn't be the real God in this church. So she went to a cult, and there, I mean, it was so devastating for her. You know, it totally destroyed her. Without counseling, she would not have been able to stand on her feet again. You know, so some of these pastors are greed for money, and they do everything to get the church to believe in money rather than, and many of them distort the scripture, and people believe them because quite a number of people don't read the Bible for themselves, and so they depend on the pastors to teach them. They don't check with what they hear, and everything that the pastor tells them, they believe. And after a while, the people get caught up into believing that the pastor is some supernatural person. And this is what has happened to the church in Montego Bay. The people are bewitched after a while because they believe him. And usually, these charismatic, some of them are charismatic leaders. They're very warm and gentle. You notice how soft-spoken this one in Montego Bay is. And he was saying that he brought salvation, and he is the I am that I am, and he's going to get back his flock and all that. Mentally, some of them are narcissistic. They just believe that they are the most important persons in the world, and they're leading God's people. You know, some of them have antisocial personality disorder, meaning that they don't have any remorse, they don't have any empathy. They're just for themselves. And it's really, I'm really very sorry for these people who have been caught into all of this.
Well,
Um, and as you have
yes.
said,
Well, what we go,
ostracized by the society and all of that. And I think we should show them more sympathy.
right. On that note, let me ask Bishop, notice as we wind down our discussion, what suggestions, recommendations would you give? And I'm twinning this question in both to the victims and those who are the perpetrators.
But first, too, and I'm happy that you put it in those categories because sometimes persons regard victims as villains, and so we need to make
Yes.
that separation. And we say to those who are victims, those who have been abused by those who have power, that when you are shamed and when you go through this trauma, acknowledge it and don't be afraid to speak about it. Don't beat upon yourselves and don't abandon your faith. Seek help and seek help in this case, for example, in the Montego Bay situation, that persons should seek help for their families and especially for their young children who were exposed to all kinds of traumatic behaviors. And also persons who have gone through hurt and pain must recognize that God is a God of love and compassion, and God is a God of healing. And if you yourself have made mistakes by latching on to a group that is a cultic group, forgive yourself, forgive those who have hurt you, and seek to connect to a group of persons that are genuine, that are loving, and that are kind. So that's what I would say to those who have been hurt by church, to recognize that they have not been hurt by God, and that there are
Mm,
even in the church people who are unchristian and people who are unloving. But our God is a God who gives unconditional love and who can bring healing to
yes.
hurts.
Mm.
The second part of your
Dr.
question was
Scott? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry,
Yes,
Bishop.
yes, sir.
I'm sorry. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead, Bishop.
Okay.
no. Let
Okay,
Dr.
Dr.
Scott go ahead.
Yeah, Dr. Scott, go ahead.
Right. I don't think we should condemn the hurting persons because, as I said, they didn't go into all of this for what has happened in the case in point. In point. We should have an awareness of what has really happened for us to help them. And we shouldn't judge them. We should empathize with them, understand that what hurt one person may not hurt another. I mean, generally speaking. But in the case of these people, we should show them our love, show them that we care. Scripture says that we are to cast all our cares, our anxieties, everything upon God because He cares for us. First Peter 5, verse 7. And that these are some of the things we should tell the people. We should listen keenly to the hurting persons and pray. We should pray with them, help them to connect to somebody who can support them. Introduce the hurting people to faithful persons, as I said, who can embrace them. It's difficult, Reverend, to
Yes.
really get to these leaders, especially those who have mental problems. So you may have to get psychiatrists and persons who deal with mental disorders to deal with some of them. And some of them will not even listen to you. You're not going to be able to reach many of them. But I say we can pray. And we need to show the people love. I love when people come to my church and they say, boy, I really feel love. People are so accepting here. I feel so good. I'm going to return. Because love is patient. Love is kind. It does not treat people like all these people are treated. It does not envy. It is not proud. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices in truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always persevere. And so these are the things we should show the people. This is not love. According to 1 Corinthians 13:47. It's not love. So we should show the
Well,
people
we have to,
understanding. And yes.
yes,
And
yes, we have to leave it.
we should have some people to resolve their past, if you give me a chance to say that. Because it is because of what has happened to some of these people in the past why they become so vulnerable. So we should deal with the deep-seated issues that they have in our counseling and in our therapy.
All right. Well, we could continue for half an hour more at least. East in this discussion. I have to leave it there. We want to thank Bishop Dr. Roy Notice for joining us this morning. Dr. Beverly Scott. Have a blessed day, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. God bless.
You're welcome. Thanks for having us.
Great.
Bye.
Listeners, the Morning Watch will return in just a moment.
Now, with no processing fees and no down payment, it's time to open the door to your own sweet home. The time by JN Bank is
7:31.
Make I tell you about short-term motor insurance from JNGI. You choose what you need, 30, 60, 90 days policy. No long commitment, full third party. Don't park your car, don't walk, it's a shorty. So affordable and it's not per nation market. JNGI shorty. Country party, we have a shorty. Just insure your vehicle and start it. Roll out with a shorty. Shorty, the short-term motor insurance from JN General Insurance. Available only online.
The Jamaica Customs Agency continues to ensure the viability of Jamaica's economy and has instituted several trade facilitation measures for the export sector, including processing of export declarations upon submission, removing the need for dock receipts, rolling out the electronic export manifests for shipping lines, piloting the AEO Exporter Program for compliant exporters, spearheading the electronic single window for trade J-Swift project, and collaborating with other entities to implement the paperless exporter registration process and online payment services, as well as removing the need for licenses and permits from certain items. Exporters, we value your contribution. Let's keep the wheels of trade turning. Jamaica Customs, keeping our customers in focus.
Youth is the transitional age between childhood and adulthood. Some of the best times in life come during our youth. What one learns at this young age, the company that he keeps, the path that he follows, and the lessons of life he takes makes a person what he will become tomorrow. Did you know youth is an extremely important time in everyone's life? Yes, the youth of a nation are its leaders of tomorrow, and so it is vital to educate them with good and strong values and deep thoughts. Hi, I'm Shivani Blair, your youth ambassador, just reminding you it's Youth Month. Keep safe and keep it locked to the family station Love 101.
I'll lean on you, lean on me. We got this.
Welcome back to the Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Normally we'll be looking at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. But I'm having some, okay, it's up now. All right, in the Gleaner, Archangel of Death. After slitting Gardner's throat, Ruddock snubbed Smith's order to cut off her head, the court was told. And also in Gleaner, Battle Royal at King's House over vax or test backlash. Also, in the Gleaner, we are not an enemy of the church. LGBTQ says places of worship more accommodating, but most pastors holding to dogma. And then in the Observer, the polluter must pay. SIDS Commission legal action against rich nations. Also in the Observer, 5 hospitalized from 5 crashes in 3 days. And also, you won't know, Minister Montague, Integrity Commission addresses minister's claim of AAJ probe. Those are some of the major stories in our newspapers. Well, coming up next, we'll read some of the feedback from our Facebook and WhatsApp question. What lessons should we take away from the Pathway International Kingdom Restoration Ministries tragedy? Please share your responses on our Facebook page, Love 101 FM, also whether by text or voice note to WhatsApp 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll be right back.
Dollars and Cents. Every Thursday at 8:16 a.m. We'll give you tips on how to make your money count, how to save, and how to grow your worth. It's all inside Dollars and Cents. Brought to you by BPM Financial Limited, taking you higher. That's Dollars and Cents. Every Thursday at 8:16 a.m. on the family station, Love 101.
Youth Zoom, zeroing in on zealous youth. Yes, for the month of November, join us as we showcase our young people making big moves. Youth Zoom, every Tuesday and Thursday at 9:30 inside Love in the Morning. Zeroing in on zealous youth. November is Youth Month, so join us every Tuesday and Thursday at 9:30 inside Love in the Morning with me, Shivani Blair, your Youth Ambassador. Youth Month 2021. Come hear the stories, the testimonies, the hills and the valleys, and how they overcame. Join us for an exciting story. Youth Zoom, every Tuesday and Thursday at 9:30 inside Love in the Morning. Zeroing in on zealous youth.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Let's join Shivani for a look at how our Facebook and WhatsApp friends answered today's question. What lessons should we take away from the Pathway International Kingdom Restoration Ministries tragedy? Shivani.
All right. There is this comment on Facebook. Hyacinth says, the church is not perfect, only God is. And when church people give more honor to their leaders than God, detrimental conflicts will take place. All glory belongs to God. She adds, victims draw nigh unto God in and right. She says Jesus Christ associated with those who support them. Right. Clifton Clark says, I do agree with Bishop Notice, with his suggestion regarding the members seeking help. But I think they need more than that. We need to reach out to them. I think that's what you're saying, right? Great. Tracy says the answer, don't be fooled. Know God for yourself. Right? And Phyllis also echoed that same sentiment. Let me hear what this person is saying. This is a voice note. Yeah?
Yeah, since the incident there in Montego Bay, I realized a lot of stone throwing is taking place. But, the good thing that is coming of that incident there, a lot of members are now realizing that their leader is also a Kevin Smith. And the word of God tell us that out of evil come good. So nothing happened by chance.
All right. We'll leave it there. Thanks for the responses, folks.
Thank you all. Thank you, Shivani. Interesting comments there. Okay, as we segue into the second watch, in recent news, we heard that Facebook was changing its name to Meta, META. This was made effective October 28, 2021. Why was this done? And why that name? What's really up with this Facebook name change? Well, to answer these and more questions, we have joining us Mr. Craig Powell, CEO, Adtelligent Limited, Mr. Christopher Record, CEO, T-Tech Limited. Good morning. Gentlemen, good morning.
Morning.
Morning, Dad. How are you doing?
Morning, gentlemen. I am well. Okay. Well, gentlemen, what is your take on why the Facebook name changed? Is it just a matter of rebranding? Or is there more than meets the eye? And I want to begin with Mr. Record. Last time you both were on this program, Craig had conspiracy theories for the Facebook shutdown. So, Record, I'm going to start with you. What's your take on it? And then Craig.
All right. Thank you very much. Thanks for having us this morning, Dylan. Yes, when we all heard this announcement that this name change was going to happen, of course, a lot of us kind of sat up and thought, why? There is a given reason by the CEO of the company, and then there's the reasons that they the analysts out there kind of start to wonder, does this have anything to do with the reputation, with the situation that people are, let's call it that they are looking at Facebook in a different way, based upon the inability, the specific way that Facebook is treating and handling certain types of content. Instead of preventing it, they're pushing it. So there's a whole set of activities going on right now. But let's just deal with the one that they give. So the name Meta is connected to the word metaverse, and the whole concept of the metaverse came about maybe a dozen or so years ago, or maybe even longer, with the whole idea and concept of merging physical reality, or sitting on right here, but also virtual reality. Or sitting on right here. The fact of the matter is that we're not sitting in the same room together. We are digitally connecting right now using various technologies, multiple technologies, to reach out to you and your listeners. And and so what this whole metaverse concept is all about, taking this to the next level by now us. I mean, let me show you one of the devices I have right here, by us putting on our Craig, remember this? You and I have the same exact one, right? Putting on
Hey, make sure you send me one. You hear? Gentlemen, send me one, all right?
and the fact is that using technologies like that, Facebook has their own branding, Oculus, using their own branding and their own tools and technologies, we can together enter into a different plane of quote unquote existence and communication. And so that's what they're saying. That's what the CEO is saying. But I'll allow Craig spin. Craig always has interesting thoughts around these matters.
So this one, I don't have as much of a conspiracy about, because I believe Facebook has been trying to go into this metaverse world for the past 2-3 years, and they have the products. The Oculus Rift, as Chris was talking about, is was the number one selling virtual reality goggle in the world, and they had purchased this company a couple of years back. And one of the problems that they were having were people, didn't like buying this product from Facebook, because you had to actually register to have a Facebook account to use this product. Facebook has a lot of negativity around it, and Mark and his team were very sure that this metaverse world, or this virtual reality, augmented reality world, was going to be much bigger than maybe even the Facebook world in terms of the revenue. When we look at revenue for virtual porn, just to be honest, $17 million was what was being generated about in 2017. In 2020, that has skyrocketed to about $1 billion of subscription services. This is porn that is virtual, that you actually experience and you wear your goggles. And that's been driven obviously by COVID and people being at home. The reality is that the amount of revenue in terms of virtual services or virtual thing has grown like crazy. And Facebook is just prepping to be the leader. And they believe that in this metaverse, with this interconnected world, like how, we're all sitting here and we're not physically there, instead of us not physically being with each other, we would physically be able to touch or interact with each other, although we wouldn't be in the same room. And I know if you guys watch anime or, The Matrix or any of these things, we've always been talking about this kind of weird integrated world where we'd be in computers and be able to physically see and feel things and, be in this separate world that's not really the real world. And the world has been going that way for a while. So Facebook is trying to be the leader. To change their name, Google had already done this and said, hey, look, we are Google, but we recognize that for our shareholders, there's, we're doing too many products, we're doing too many things. It's hard for us to manage in our books in terms of reporting to say this is our core product and core profitability. It was easy for them to separate their company from Google to Alphabet, and then have Google have straight reporting, say this is a fantastically profitable company, and report it upwards to Alphabet, and then Alphabet take that money and spend and invest in their other moonshot items. That's Google Glass, that's Android, that's other stuff like that. And then it's clear Facebook was doing the same, because they're super profitable at Facebook, but then they have WhatsApp, Instagram, which are Facebook type companies, but then they have this Meta, Oculus Rift, other things like that. Facebook has right now this thing with Ray-Ban, which is actually a virtual reality Ray-Ban glass, where you put it on and literally you can see. I would be looking at Chris right now, and Chris could see where I am, and I mean, they have some crazy technology. They don't necessarily want to list that in Facebook. So I think that makes sense. But where they went wrong is saying, hey, Mark Zuckerberg is still the face of it. Mark Zuckerberg is the guy. Everybody still hates Mark Zuckerberg.
Tell you what, Craig and Chris, hold those thoughts, all right? This is the cliffhanger. We are up on a break. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Bank to make the pride and joy of providing a safe place for their families possible. Now, with no processing fees and no down payment mortgage options, you can open the door to your own sweet home, a legacy to hand to your next generation. Visit jnbank.com to get pre-approved today. JN Bank will help you find a way.
When I found out I was becoming a father, I made myself one promise: to love my youth unconditionally, and to make nothing happen to her. I try my best to live up to that. Child abuse in Jamaica is a big problem, and the case them rise. It's time for everyone to speak up. We know right from wrong. What is right is reporting everything you hear or see. Report all form of child abuse. Just call 211.
You're invited to listen to Dollars and Cents every Thursday at 8:16 a.m. We'll give you tips on how to make your money count, how to save, and how to grow your worth. It's all inside Dollars and Cents, brought to you by BPM Financial Limited, taking you higher. That's Dollars and Cents every Thursday at 8:16 a.m. on the family station, Love 101.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint, and in this, the second half of the second watch, we are discussing the topic, what's up? What's up with the recent Facebook name change? And we have online Mr. Craig Powell and Mr. Christopher Record. Craig, before the break, you were explaining to us your take on this whole matter of the name change, why and stuff like that. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I was explaining that, it's easier for them to separate out the companies, and Meta is a more wide encompassing name that essentially allows you to say, hey, look, we have this physical entity, we have software, we have the digital verse, it makes sense. The only problem is that Mark Zuckerberg is still the face of it, and people still don't like Mark Zuckerberg, so that's just not working. And then the first ad that they put out is Mark. It's just Mark saying, hey, we're going to the metaverse and we're so happy. And it still doesn't change the fact that people think he's a reptilian or, he's an alien, or he might be a robot, or any other conspiracies that people have. They're still thinking he is. I don't know why he didn't use a celebrity or something to just say, hey, this is what Meta is, and separate the brand from them. So Google didn't do that when they did Alphabet. No, but people actually like the Google guys, but they're not so interconnected with the brand. Mark is very interconnected with Facebook.
But I must tell you though, gentlemen, and I'm going to ask you first, Chris. The Meta vis-a-vis Facebook, it somehow is not connecting for me. I don't know if it's going to grow on me. How do you think this is going to affect the Facebook, going forward, both positively or negatively? How will it affect Facebook?
I don't think it's going to affect it anyway. So what you have to understand is, okay, so Craig kind of mentioned it a while ago. Google did this very same thing a while back. So Google's parent company is called Alphabet, right? So all that is happening right now is that, as Craig said earlier, and you also mentioned, there are a number of other businesses that the organization has. So there's Facebook as a business, as well as a product. There is Instagram as a product. There's WhatsApp as a product. There's Oculus, and they're making other investments. So what is happening is that they have created this as, let's call it a holding company in our speak, for want of a better word. So it's a Meta, and so one of the products that Meta now owns is Facebook. So it's not. I don't think it's going to be a grand change. I don't think they're going to be changing their name of the actual product or branding of Facebook at all. Meta is just going to be the company that's just setting an intention, setting a vision as around what this new future is. Now, what also happened at the same time that not a lot of people are talking about is that during the same week, they also launched their own digital wallet, right? Earlier this year,
What's that? What's that?
Hold on, couldn't tell you. Earlier this year, they also launched their own digital currency, right? So here's what's happening now. Understand, you have access to billions of people's data and information. You now have created a way for those people to come together in this new world, and you're now creating some sort of a currency in this new world, and you're creating a way for us to buy and sell and spend in this new world. By the way, this is also happening in a number of games already. There are certain games out there that that you go and you buy their type of currency and buy their stuff in there. So you're actually buying digital things all in the game. So you go to mommy and daddy, or if you earn your own money. This is for the demographic of the kids playing these type of games. You do a transaction or a transfer where there's credit card, you convert to digital dollars in those games, and then you're going by skins. So for example, right now we just turn on a computer and stand up and look at the screen. However, let's say the tool that we're using, StreamYard, allowed us now to look like Thor or whoever. I have to go and buy that. We're buying a digital asset, right? That we now have to now put on. Let's say I'm buying a mask or buying a digital hat, and I can turn around here and put on a real life hat. But because the technology we're using, and this is where it becomes mind stretching now, Dr. Toussaint, we have the ability to press a button, right? Press a button and then put on a digital hat or a digital glasses or just look different, but we have to buy it. Right? So imagine now, we now have in this world a whole different place we live, we have a car we drive. So this is a world within a world. Understand? So this is what the whole concept of calling this company Meta, because they're now going to be setting up to use all of the assets that they currently have to create this new experience. Because the whole idea, and if you had watched a launch, because when these things come out, I'm not going to just go straight to the news medias. I sit down and I watch the entire launch and I listen to him and I listen to what all the various products that he's talking about. Because the demos that they did at launch, so they had an event called Facebook Connect, which is their main thing that they have all for their users and developers and all of that once per year. And they went through the demonstration of all the various tools that they have. And what was very interesting is the whole idea and concept of us being here right now. And if we use the tools, all of us could be digitally and virtually sitting in the same room together. And then each of us could choose how we look and choose what we had on by just a press of a button.
Wow.
What happens is that you're going to be able to buy that stuff using digital dollars, right? Their dollars, right? So
more money for them.
More money for them. It's very interesting. It's a lot of future stuff. So there are a fair amount of people who are saying that this is all this is bad. That's what some people are saying. Let's spare the fancy words and just say that this is not very realistic, because strategically you're doing nothing different. And Craig said it a while ago. Mark is still in charge. Nothing is changing, right? So you literally change the name. There's no new strategy. There's nothing new at this time that we are seeing. Maybe all of a sudden, another week or two, something will pop up. But there's nothing different right now. So it's crazy used the word earlier, a moonshot situation. Maybe is it a moonshot too early? Did we start out too early? Because a lot of the tools and technologies that they're talking about are still in developmental stage. None of us, look, Dylan, none of us want to be walking around with this virtual reality headset. This thing is big and cumbersome, right? What we want to do, which by the way, I discussing this with my wife last night, and she's talking about this TV show that you watch, where it's a contact lens that you just put in your eye, and there's actually a TV show on Netflix that actually has the whole idea, concept that you enter a game. So instead of this big headset, is either glasses or a contact lens that you put in your eye to enter in this new universe that you can just control either by hand movement or in the future by thought. But this is where things are going, and this is really leaning over the line very, very, very far. One of the things that I started doing just about a year ago when it came out, I bought this book and I started reading it, The Augmented Workforce, right? Because it's all about this whole new world that we're in and this where we're heading with AI and AR and 5G and virtual reality. It's mind stretching.
Let me ask Craig. Craig, what are your suggestions, recommendations then to the users of this, what do you call it now? Meta stuff. Anything you'd say to the users? Yeah.
Well, just be careful, because it's not going to be as obvious as, hey, the Matrix is being created, and by next year the world is over. Or if you watch Terminator, there's not this aha moment where you say the AI was created and then the bomb goes off. It's a very slow descent. So as Chris said, the technology is not exactly there, but it's getting there and it's coming. So it's mind stretching, because it's actually almost impossible to imagine what it's going to look like. But it is going to look like where, as Chris is talking about, buying certain things. I believe in the future, in 10 years, people will be buying upgrades to their virtual girlfriends to get more personality.
Virtual girlfriends.
Yes. I believe that we'll be walking around, and instead of having a real Rolex, you have a virtual equivalent of an asset that tells people that you are successful at whatever, because we all have virtual watches or virtual things. And you know, in video games, people buy these assets to show off to their friends, just like you do in real life. You're going to have a virtual asset that I'm walking around and you'll see it on my hand because you also have the augmented glasses or augmented this. So you got to be very careful, because the lines are going to be blurring, and people are already having trouble dating, already having trouble working hard, or having, you know, being good in society, because it's easier to get virtual success. You know, my thing is, it's going to get worse before it gets better. There are going to be people, new opportunities from this, but just be careful that you don't get sucked down this rabbit hole, because it'd be really sad if instead of having a real girlfriend, you're going to have a virtual girlfriend. And, you know, the virtual girlfriend, you're going to be telling your other friends, look at her, bro. And then you all put on your glasses, and she stands there in the room and he says, she's so fantastic. She never complains. She never does anything. And you know what? I got the new upgrade for her. And now she has more features and more lifelike movements. That's where it's going. Just to be very clear. It's not,
boy.
We don't want Jamaicans to become like, you know, people in Japan where they're all locked up in a room and we're just, you know, we don't see anybody anymore outside of COVID, because they're all there with their virtual girlfriends. We don't want that. We don't want that.
Chris, you have the last say. Will we also have virtual wives and husbands and boyfriends? I don't know.
look, if you can think it, you can conceive it and make it happen. And we are seeing a lot of that right now. Craig is right, actually. There's a fair amount of this. And understand, Dr. Tsana, that this COVID situation has created the space, mental space for these things to happen. I have two teenage daughters, and the fact of the matter is that they have their tablets. Yes, they're at school digitally, but you've gotten so used to digitally doing everything that entertainment is digital, communication is digital, and so what else? The sky's the limit. There's opportunities for us. I have joked over and over and over again about once we have the technology and the power is there. But we can all perhaps attend the Bob Marley concert again soon. We can, a Jacob Killamiller concert again soon. Once we are able to pull together all the data that existed for these people and then sell it digitally. Jamaica is the culture capital of the world, music, reggae capital of the world. We can now create reggae concerts online. The fact of the matter is that one of the artists that one of my daughters follow, this guy Astro World, what's his name again? Craig,
yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Astro.
Running out of time, gentlemen.
Right. So the fact of the matter is that we can do these things. And the fact is that we need to start a research and say how we can leverage this right now.
No, Dr. Tutan, Travis Scott had the largest virtual concert ever. And
Travis Scott, that's it. Travis
Scott, like 40 million people live.
Exactly.
Which is crazy.
Digitally. No physical contact.
Thanks. I'm going to have to literally, not virtually, end this discussion. Right. Thank you both for joining us, gentlemen. Have a productive day. All right.
Thank you. Good topic, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, listeners, for being with us. Yeah, man. For information or get copies of this program, call our production department at 876-968-9596-7. You can now listen to the Morning Watch on Love 101 app. This has been the Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer, Miss Kathy Gale, and our guests. Please join Mr. Stokely Marshall next week as he continues to look at the issues of the day. I'm Dylan Toussaint, handing you back to Love in the Morning with Siobhan Blair.
We'll return to this earth some sweet day.